Most executives, entrepreneurs, business leaders, they hit a wall, they get burned out, they get invisible and stuck repeating the same old stale leadership playbook. And who wants that? That's not fun at all. But Felecia Ward is here to help us break the cycle. She's a communication strategist, she's an executive coach, and a leadership development consultant. And we're here to get some leadership figured out, to inspire some real change, and to solve some problems, and to deal with just these crazy struggles that us entrepreneurs, business owners face. Why the heck do we put ourselves through all this torture, right? There's no stability. There's the sand shifting beneath our feet. But the good news is Miss Felicia is here to give us that breath of fresh air, to tell us that, hey, things will be okay, but here's something you should know about, watch for. So, Miss Felicia, glad to see you, glad to be speaking with you.
Yeah. Hey, Robert, thank you so much for having me. I would love to talk about this subject in light of this, up and down geopolitical climate that we're in. It actually replicates the journey of an entrepreneur. So one of the first things I want to talk about is that I started out in my journey working for advertising agencies and PR firms, trying to get business from corporations, getting business from entrepreneurs, and getting a lot of insights as to what everybody's pain point was on the other side of the desk. And working on Fortune 500 companies up to Fortune 100 companies, you start becoming a consultant to a lot of the CEOs, and they all have a lot of the same problems. How am I going to deal with customer engagement? How am I going to deal with employee engagement? Doing change management, and how that's going to impact, who is it going to impact, how is it going to impact them, and how we're going to roll this out. And what I learned from that is that when I started working from corporate, I was one of those people that survived 4 job layoffs, critical layoffs, where I survived round 1, round 2, and round 3. Guess what? It's you too. So I had to, what I tell all entrepreneurs, the number one most important thing is to humble yourself. A lot of us come from a corporate position or a high level position. You did really well. You have a lot of acumen. You have a lot of credentials. The problem is once you transition and you become an entrepreneur, you no longer have that moniker and you're nobody. You have to
Right.
recognize and accept you are now no longer that great person that performed. You performed in a great environment because you worked within a corporation. Now you have to start over. And people are reluctant to do that. What they typically do is they throw some money at branding, they pay somebody to do their business plan. They come out swinging and they put their shingle up, and then crickets, no calls. And they anticipated all this business that was going to happen. It's because you're setting yourself up for failure because you're not recognizing you're just a vendor. Now, in
Hmm.
order to transfer from being a vendor to an entrepreneur, you have to first change your mindset. You have to know that when you worked at the corporation, when you came into the office, everything was already set up. Now you're an entrepreneur, you have to go to Staples and go buy a chair and put it together. That's like the first thing. So humbling yourself and recognizing it's going to be a lot of work, but it's very rewarding when you can do that. Don't you agree that it's, being an entrepreneur is very rewarding at the end? But in the beginning and all throughout, it could be a tremendous roller coaster ride. So humbling yourself and recognizing you're going to have to start with the first building blocks is networking. You have to establish a network. And the first thing I tell people about networking is you have to know the difference between advocacy and being and having an advocate in your corner when you're not in the room and speaking your name versus someone who's just an associate.
Hmm.
An advocate will not only help you out, but they will recommend people to you. They will understand what your products and services are. They try to find out who is your ideal client, and they will always think of you and in that term. And that advocacy is so important because a lot of times people waste their time trying to give their business cards to someone that has this huge title but actually has no power. So networking and establishing and building relationships is very key when you're an entrepreneur. And that means online and offline. Get your butt in that chamber of commerce and meet regular business owners because they're going to be supportive in your journey. Get on LinkedIn and make sure that you're being professional and learning what other business owners are going through at that level, and then find something else. Maybe you're a vendor at a show, maybe you like speaking, but you're going to have to get yourself out there. And the first thing you have to learn, multiple income revenue streams. If you don't have multiple revenue streams, and I tell people that about ecosystems, when it comes to ecosystems, if you're a writer, if that's not how you make all your money, you're not just constantly writing books. You're probably, speaking. You're probably giving workshops. You're probably, going out to an elementary school and doing some sort of, community give back. If you're a comedian, Dave Chappelle's not on stage every day. So how are they making money? They're writing books. So you need to find out what the ecosystem is for your business and what other revenue streams that you can start to generate from the beginning. And that was one of the things that I didn't know about. I just thought, oh, I'm going to be a marketer. Well, you find out you're only going to be marketing about 25% of the time. You're going to be in business development, client acquisition, client services, and fulfillment, where you actually get to do what it is that you love to do. And that administration is a killer. So that's just the beginning of, of getting the mindset and understanding what the job actually is. And I think a lot of people have this delusion that they're going to get a VA, they're going to go on Fiverr, and they're going to have a great logo and some business cards, and things are just going to start happening. And then 3 to 6 months in, people become terrified. So you have to understand you might have to get a part-time job. That's a reality. You might have to do multiple things that are in your journey that are going to get you to meet more people, build more relationships.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're in for quite a bit. And this is good to know this up front, right? Because we don't feel like we're baited and switched. And I think you're so right that there is that mindset change, because I think you think that, okay, switching from employee to entrepreneur, you figure, okay, I've got this block of time. I clock into work, I clock out, cool, I'm done. And when I'm a business owner, oh, I have an even shorter block of time. And you're saying, well, that's the part that people see, right? That's the tip of the iceberg. But then there's like even more, like your whole waking day, at least at first, will be so filled up by all the things that you don't see, right? The business development
Yes.
and all that superficial stuff, like the making the business cards. I mean, nowadays with Canva and with AI, hey, that's 5 or 10 minutes out of your whole lifetime. Don't
Right.
spend a month on that. You're saying that what's so important is all of this delayed gratification, the networking, the having the advocates. That way there's the ripple effect. And so as far as the networking thing, I mean, it seems so weird and silly, right? Like what we're doing here, right? We're sitting there and we're having this conversation. You think like, well, it's not really making me the money right this instant, right? You're putting up the content, you're doing the kind of getting that leverage from other people, expanding your network. So can you tell us about that? Was that ever like a growing pain? Because you say you survived the 4 rounds of layoffs. There had to have been some degree of people skills, social skills, but it always feels so intangible, doesn't it? Like, well, of
Yeah.
course I should be a good person. Of course I should go to the Chamber of Commerce and talk to people, but it's always hard to feel like, okay, what's my return on that? But I also know I need to do that consistently. So help us untangle that whole mess of like how important it is to network and have the people skills.
Let me tell you, it was so vital to have real conversations with people who are actually doing what you're doing. Get yourself a mentor. Find somebody who's more successful at doing exactly what it is that you want to do. You want to find people who are on the journey who just started like you. So you have to look at it, what I tell my clients, look at it as a bicycle shop. When you have a bicycle shop, if you said you're only going to sell high performing bikes, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. So if you're a smart marketer and you're strategic, you have a bike shop that has tricycles. And then you have the training bike and the two-wheeler, the 10 speed, and then the sport bikes. You want to invite everyone. And what you find is that having conversations with somebody what you consider to be an old timer could grant you so much wisdom, contacts, and then someone that just started that really doesn't know what they're doing. You never know where that person might be in 6 months. So you have to go and put yourself out there and make the connection. Make the connection, find something that you have in common with someone, and learn to work the room. And what I tell people to do is don't make it fake. So if you only have an hour between your lunch to something else and that hour period of time, try to have genuine conversations with at least 3 people, but meet 5 people. Get their cards and exchange and have an exchange with that person that you can write notes about the conversation that you had. Like, what are their pain points? Ask them realistically. Just get to the heart of it. Say, hey, I just started my business and I'm finding it's harder to get customers. What are you struggling with? And they will open up and tell you what they're dealing with. Cut through all the BS of the representative and hi, my name is and da 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 and my type. Get straight to the heart and ask people, be curious. Ask people really important questions, and you'll find out. What I found out very early on when it came to networking, there's a strategy to it, is that you have to have 25% of the people in your network should be people that are in your career, that are doing what you do. And then 25% should be something near what you do. So like social media managers and things like that. Then you need to have people that are your ideal clients. Who is it? Make a list of the people you really want to go after. You're going to have to start going to their events, learning about their industry and what their pain points are, then learn who the people are. Don't learn who the people are, then try to find out later what their pain points are. And then the last thing is the last 25%. Everyone should have in their network people that can help either you grow your network in terms of elevating and your business to the next level or helping you get another job. Meaning that everyone needs to have HR managers. You need to have project managers, accountants, human resource managers that can tell you the inside. Like, it might sound great to go work at this one particular company and they'll say, they're about to lay off 500 people. Well, they just saved you a bullet. Someone else in HR might say, hey, you know what? They're not hiring full time, but a project manager can tell you if it's a good work environment because they're not tethered to the culture of the company. And that's really important to have to break that down. And that was something that I learned to do after I was laid off a second time, to know the signs of a company. I don't care how great the company is. I don't care if it's number one in the Fortune 500. If that company is paying vendors late, vendors are coming in saying they didn't get their check, or people are having problems with payroll, that's a sign for you not to work there. If they have high turnover, that's a sign for you not to work there. If people there are burning the midnight oil every night, working Saturdays and Sundays, and they don't have a work-life balance, that's a sign. Okay. So, those things, learning to read the room, learning when you come into a place. And I actually went on an interview and it went great. And, they walk you around the office. It was my third interview, which, you're probably going to get the job. And when I walked back to the reception area, they whispered to me, get out, get out.
No, that's
When I
not
went
what
to
you
get
want.
my coat. And I'm like, what? And multiple people said it to me on the way out. So I started doing my due diligence and looking at like glassdoor.com and reading reviews from employees. And it turned out there's some dissension that's going on there. So don't just be so desperate to make money. Not all money is good money. Not every client is a good client. A lot of clients, the more they pay you, they could be problematic. But typically, when people pay more, they ask less because they trust what you do. And the clients that paid you $29.99 call you 5 times a day, you have to start to really adopt and adapt your client profile of who you think is your ideal customer. You might come into it thinking, I had a client that thought that her client profile was this, but because of the economy, she's been making money on another scale. So she's changing who her client profile is. Don't be afraid to change and augment what you're doing. And the final thing I'd say that's really important, do not try to be everything to everybody. If you offer 3 services, that is enough. Do not try to offer 15 services to accommodate everybody. And what I call it in the agency, we used to call it the washing machine. Every client is going to get the same service, but you're just going to augment what's proprietary to them that they specifically need, but the rest of the service is the same. When you go to the laundromat, I might have silk, you might have cotton, but we're all putting our stuff in the washing machine and it's going through all the cycles to get clean. So you want to make sure you have an onboarding process, a client fulfillment process, an offboarding process that everyone is getting reports, everyone's getting all the information. The client is feeling like that you're giving them high touch and that's going on, and you're updating them so that by the time you get to offboarding, there are no surprises.
Very cool. And I think, we've all known someone like you, Felicia, in our workplaces where someone that just like stands out and is a winner, so to speak, and has a lot of things in life figured out, right? It seems like you're future focused and people focused. So that way we have some choices, and in whatever context, right? In your career, you say, I'm at this job that I hate, or I wish there was something new. And someone like you says, well, apply some of these things, right? Do the networking, keep that mix, that 25% mix of people, and know what the problems are. And especially, I kind of like how the subtext is that the problems and the people and the problems, it's iterative, isn't it? It's like you
Yes.
have these networking conversations. And I think, what was your phrase? You're like, what are you struggling with?
Yes.
And it's like, well, this isn't the first person you're asking this. And when you get the answer, you've probably heard that answer before because it's just something that you're always tapped into, right? And you're always
Right.
keeping in mind of what those problems are. And so it seems like when we start our own business, we trade having one boss for several, right? We have these clients and now we have to navigate, because if we don't have a plan, then we'll kind of get bullied, won't we? We'll get bullied into having like that one client that pays the most, that is also the biggest hassle, and all these other little clients. And we're like, oh, I wish we had more of those. So because of your advice, now we can have some choices. And I'm really curious about the value that you provide, right? Podcasts are great for stories and great
Mhm.
for us to understand. Just, anyone can say, oh, I'm a business person, I'm a marketer. But when someone comes to you, Miss Felecia Ward, what are they struggling with and what do you do for them?
The first thing they're struggling with is what I talked about, is their mindset. They're thinking that things should be going great because things have been going great before, and they're not recognizing the fact that they have to change their mindset. So I basically use neuroscience with that. And then people are going through transitions. So the transitions, and being a transitions intelligence coach, of knowing where people are on their journey. We have to stop normalizing that you need to get on track. Blow that up. Okay. You're only competing against yourself. Don't look at what someone else is doing and someone else's trajectory. You're setting yourself up again for failure. What you have to do, and one of the things I started doing early on when I became an entrepreneur, is doing a weekly report to myself in
Hmm.
writing. You might think at the beginning of the week you're going to do 10 great things, and you end up only doing one or two, and then you're like, oh, this is horrible. No, if you think about it, if you work your business Monday through Friday for everyone else, 5 days a week, 4 weeks, that's 20 days. If you just do one thing a day for your business, at the end of the month, you've done 20 things for your business. So don't shoot yourself in the foot. Look at the transformation and look at the investment that you're putting in. What have you actually completed? And that puts a fire under people's butts to realize that you might say, well, I'm moving the furniture around on the deck of the boat, but did you clean the boat? Which is what you really don't want to do. So my advice to people is, whatever the big elephant in the room is, start working on that. Do the eat the frog method. Start out with the biggest thing. And if that takes you 3 weeks to get done, it's when it gets done, it's a major significant impact to your business. And at the end of the week, be responsible to yourself as a business owner and say, you know what, if you were working someone else, your boss would want to know, what did you accomplish this week? So don't just accomplish things so you can check them off a list. Make sure you're checking things off that are meaningful, that are going to move the needle for your business. And one of the things, the first thing I do after I establish, like, where are you? What are your challenges? What is it that you really wanted to go? I find out what their big transformation is, and I ask them, and we help put together their North Star strategy. What is most important to you? So, for instance, if you're a parent and you just became a parent, it's very obvious that your children are going to be your North Star. And guess what? Everything magically falls into place when other things are prioritized. So you have to figure out, and I'm a big proponent of having work-life balance. So when I'm doing transition coaching, what people typically do is they live compartmentalized lives. They're doing great at work and they're failing in their relationships and they're okay as a parent. So what happens is you go to work today and you find out you're getting laid off. Now, when you come home, that's going to impact your relationship. It's going to impact you as a parent. And people don't realize that there's frameworks and there's tools and resources to help you through that particular journey. The average person is going through 6 to 7 different transitions, 12 sometimes in 2 years. So we have to start normalizing that. If you lose someone, if you lost a job, if you have a major upheaval, don't try to get back to where you were. You actually have changed as a person. Use it as an opportunity to figure out what you want to do next. How can you make a difference, and how can you turn lemons into lemonade? And once I established that North Star strategy as a coach, the thing I get in is to marketing. Let's create strategic visibility. So many people are not in the game because they don't understand what search engine optimization does. They don't know what generative, engine optimization does. They don't understand that the number one way people are finding your business, as soon as you tell anyone in your face, you say, I have a business, they pull out their phone. What's the name of it? They Google your business. And when they Google it and nothing shows up, no one takes you seriously. So I make sure that they have that strategic visibility, and making sure that they're starting to build a brand for themselves, a name for themselves, and help them establish a personal brand. So do you have an LLC? There's so many people walking around and they haven't even filled out an LLC. Do they have a website? Do they have social media presence? Are they involved in memberships and organizations? Have they won awards? So that it's one thing for me to say, oh, I'm a professor at Harvard University. It's another thing that if you Google and then you comment and my name, and if it popped up that I was a professor at Google at Harvard University, it would show up. That social proof is what people are looking for. That is the number one way people are deciding whether or not they want to do business with you. And you have to remember to be humble. No one knows who you are. Always walk around knowing that no one knows who you are. You know that saying when people say, do you know who I am? The resounding answer is no. And we don't care. So you have to make people care by providing that strategic visibility with a personal brand. I need to be able to see icons. I need to see color palettes. I need to start seeing, hearing, and feeling you everywhere so you seem omnipresent. And you don't have to be omnipresent, but the feeling is, if you belong to organizations and they're telling me that you're a member of this organization, I take you a lot more seriously. I take your credentials a lot more seriously. So make sure you have credentials behind what it is that you're doing. You're joining organizations, and what I utilize is a strategic visibility framework, right? So in that framework, what I utilize is I tell people coming to the stage is Academy Award winner so-and-so. They're an Academy Award winner. That's the highest level you can have if you're an actor. And then they say coming to the stage known for, what's their methodology? What are you known for? What is your product, or what is your approach and how you deliver a transformation in people's lives? And then how are you doing that? Are you doing that one-to-one? Are you doing that in a book? So if you have a book, that creates credibility. Only 10% of people actually take the time to write a book. So it's impressive if you have a book. It's not about selling the book. It's the fact that you took the time to write a book. And then you're learning from your peers if you're in professional development. So in order to get those credentials, you have to be in rooms with other people where you're learning. So when you win an Academy Award, it's not awarded by fans. The Academy Award is awarded by other actors. So anyone in any industry, that framework works. What are you doing in order to get to know your peers, learn professional development? What are you doing in terms of what is your approach? How do you differentiate yourself from someone else? What are you doing that's different? So I'm a marketer who's also an evidence-based coach. That's a little bit different than what most people are doing. And then what organizations and memberships do you have, and how are you making a difference to other people? So my mission, when you talk about your mission statement and your North Star, is that I want to generate more transformative and servant leaders. I want leaders that are out there, that are looking to make a difference, that are putting people over profit. So when you're talking to people who are established, they're at that level where they're looking to do something that's purpose driven. So those make my best clients because they're willing to say, hey, I used to be this, but I'm ready to do this. And guess what? No one ever really asks people in leadership, what do they want to do? They're always implementing a plan. And the plan is from stakeholders and people they have to answer to because they're trying to get a result. There's a difference between trying to garner a result and trying to garner a transformation. Transformations make difference in people's lives. And that's the goal of what I'm looking to do. I could market and make a lot of money for a company, but I'm at that stage where I want to be able to ask, why I ask people all the time for their North Star legacy. What is your legacy? What do you want your legacy to be? Not just as a professional, but as a purpose and as a person. So if you're a person that's into sustainability, people are going to say, since when? What have you done evidence based? Where's your social proof that you all of a sudden are interested in, being into that field? Well, you'd have to start working in sustainability right now. You'd have to start working on projects. You'd have to start attending networking events. You'd have to start learning in classrooms and getting to know other people in sustainability to even know what the problem is before you go to solve it. So those make my best clients. And that's how I help to try to make a transformation, because once they've figured out what their North Star strategy is, I'm hyped for them because now I can help them put together their plan. What's their personal brand really going to say, as opposed to what the company told you to say, the taglines that they've come up with. Who are you looking to help? And how are you going to help them? And how are you going to make a difference? And what I learned is that most people that are in the business of being an entrepreneur, you're just helping yourself 3 people back. You're providing the supports that you did not have when you started your business. You're providing the insights that you did not have, as you start your business, So those are some of the things that I do, to help.
Yeah, and so much. And I feel like I need to listen to this podcast like 2 or 3 times and like take notes. You gave us like such an amazing list, right? Of all these things that maybe have been provided to us in a way that maybe we didn't notice or took for granted, right? That you have all this support, you have the HR, you have the infrastructure, you work for some company and they have their own marketing, but hey, now you're on your own. You have to figure a lot of these things out. And there's so much that I'm like trying to hang on to all the amazing ideas you gave. And what stands out is this phrase, since when, right? You need to be humble, but then you also need to kind of apply the publicity. And if you say, well, I want to be known for this is my purpose, I'm all about sustainability. Well, since when? So you need to have that kind of paper trail and show that you do all these things. And I really like your idea of that weekly report, because you're so right? Transitioning from a 9 to 5 to a like 24, right? Like from a employee to like working for yourself. Well, if you were the employee and you're starting your own business and you're kind of flaky on the task, you're rearranging the deck chairs, would you be fired? Or if you were the boss and you were flaky, would you be fired if it was a real fast-paced job? And I think a lot of us, that we don't take this seriously, do we? So that weekly
Yeah.
report, it's an amazing idea because it kind of forces you to see what you're neglecting, but
Mm-hmm.
also like pat yourself on the back a little bit, because
Yeah.
emotions like make us go crazy in one extreme or the other, don't they? They make us like think like, oh, I'm doing great and I'm delusional, or I'm doing terrible and you're being catastrophizing. So we don't want that. We want to have this transformation that you apply. And so how can someone find out more about this, and how do they know if they're a good fit? Because you said so many amazing things, but if someone says, okay, how do I know if Felicia is right for me, if I'm right for her? How does someone know if they can benefit from this transition coaching you provide?
Well, I'm really looking for people that have realized that wherever they are right now, they're looking to make a change. They're looking for something that has more of a purpose. They have a passion about something, and they really are looking to pursue that. Or they've been knocking your head against the wall and have this great concept, and it's just not working. And what I find is that those people make the best clients for me, and we end up having the best relationship because we're going to be on a journey together. It's a symbiotic relationship. It's not, oh, you come to me and then all of a sudden all this these magical things happen. That's not how it works. You have to be invested. We have to be dually invested in what the purpose is of what it is that you're trying to do. So that's why I make a caveat that I'm looking for servant and transformative leaders. There's so many people that have such great concepts. They have such great heart, and they're quiet, they're shy. I did a post about that it's, you got to come out of the shadows. And I don't want to be on social media. I don't want to. Guess what? You're going to have a presence. I'm not telling you you're going to have to dance and sing and perform. I'm not about that. I'm not about spending a lot of money on advertising. I'm trying to make sure that you have an online resume that people can quickly see, because no one's going to do a deep dive on you, a person that they don't know. They just need to know that when they Google you, certain things should come up, and it should tell me enough of a story that it warrants me to say, let me go check out their website. Let me go check out their social media. Let me read this article. Let me watch that podcast. And if you have all the different things, you always have to remember, as a business owner, you're putting out content, but it's the content that we want. No, you should be putting out the content that's available for people that want it the way they want it. If you talk to someone that's in their 20s, they're going to say, what's your Insta? And you're, oh, I'm not on Instagram. Well, guess what? You just left money on the table. You might be talking to someone that they like reading the New York Times, and they like the tactical feel of the paper every day. And if you're not in publications that are in your industry, they're not interested in you. So you need to have content that's quick, that's, what I call snackable content for people that are on the go, that they only are going to read for a couple seconds. They're making an impression. So the different platforms that you're on, it's not for you. It's so that you can have content for the people that are looking for you. And it's the content that they want in the versions that they would like it in. And that's really, and what you said, I love what you said. I made a post that says every week I fire myself at least twice. Because if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, you have to kick yourself and say, you know what, why didn't I get this done? Okay. So someone said, oh, I love your content, blah, blah, blah. And there was something happening, a 3-day holiday weekend. They said, where are you going? I said, well, I checked with myself and my boss says you have to work. And they're like, why? And I said, when do you think I create all that content? I have to take time to take a break and then create all the content so that I can keep doing what I'm doing. And that's a sacrifice that you have to make, is that as a business owner, you are thinking of your business 7 days a week, unlike an employee that's just working the 9 to 5. You're having to think about paying yourself, paying employees, being places, making arrangements. There's so many different things that you're having to think about. And I think when it comes to marketing and coaching, putting together, being able to read the room for yourself. Who are you really? And I really tell people this is part of your personal brand, but people, please stop quoting, Confucius and all these other different people. That's not why I came to your page. Quote yourself. Give insights of things that you've learned from yourself or things that you've learned from other leaders, because being a thought leader, and that's what I'm trying to generate more of, is asking what your take is on something. So when we talked about the geopolitical landscape, there are people right now that are losing revenue because their clients might have had certain type of funding. How are you going to make that revenue up? Is that you're going to have to look at what they're facing. They might say, hey, DEI is out, get rid of all that stuff, and you're going to have to change what you're doing. Well, look at all of your clients, do a full inventory, and is it time for you to pivot? Is it time for you to, change what you're talking about? Or do you have multiple versions ready to go for the clients that you want to maintain? And there's a thing called a list. So they have a list of, nonprofit organizations that cannot use certain words now. You can't say that, you have a restaurant and you're cooking Italian food. You have to say you're cooking culturally relevant food. Understand the landscape. Understand that you have to always get into the game. And I tell people that getting into the game does not mean spending a lot of money. It's having the knowledge and talking to people to find out what's happening right now and how that's going to impact your business, and weighing for yourself, what are your options so that you can make the right choices and make informed decisions for yourself. So I wouldn't recommend for people, for instance, don't go out and take out a whole bunch of credit cards. Don't finance something personally, for your business. This is not a great time to, make a big investment in a car and a house, because if you're an entrepreneur, you're on a roller coaster right now until you get great clients. That's going to be predictive income. Focus on having steady income coming in, focus in on building the relationships with the clients that you have. And maybe instead of trying to chase, don't chase, attract. Try to attract more people to the work that you already do, and then keep the base of what you're doing to 3 to 5 things, and go deeper into what you're providing. So you provided maybe added things. Do not cut the price of your services. And I say that because when people are desperate, they want to cut their price in half. And what that does is it attracts people who are price conscious. And those price conscious people, all they do is give referrals to more price conscious people. And now when you're no longer in that desperate situation, you're going to have a hard time raising your prices back. So if you're providing a service, do not cut the price of the service. Add on things to the existing service that you have. Maybe on a product, you can cut the price of something because you don't control that necessarily. But in this market, don't be so desperate. I call it the smell of desperation. It's a stinky perfume that you do not want to have. If your things aren't going the way you want, particularly, and you have to take a little part-time job, or you have to take a job on Fiverr or something else to supplement your income, then take the time to do that, and then regroup, and don't start spending something on on projects that are unnecessary to what it is that your main scope of your business is. I think it's really vitally important for people to understand you don't have to throw a lot of money out the situation, but you do need to know that I could take a person who has half the business acumen of one person, and I could market the hell out of them, and they'll do 10 times better than you. So it's not that you don't have enough of what you need, it's that you're being out marketed. So once you realize that, give yourself grace to make that report. Give yourself grace to get yourself rest and self-care. I burned myself out the first 2 years I started my business. I was working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I wanted to get to the 10,000 in Instagram followers, and I almost passed out. And I said, never again.
Right. And so that time stops, the pattern stops now, right? It's time
Right.
to get in the game, as you said, and for someone to make better use of these resources. And so you said that the type of person that we're looking for you is someone that has the passion and the purpose, but it's not working, right? They need someone like you to say, hey, you've got all this mess, you got all these things that are unimportant, and a few things that are important. Let's double down, let's focus. And so to get that focus, you have this excellent book called How to Break the Glass Ceiling and Still Keep It Nice. But most importantly, you have this website, FeliciaWardMarketing.com. That's spelled FELECIA wardmarketing.com. And there you can check out how Felicia offers consulting services to time poor executives who are seeking some of these solutions, right? If you feel like just so lost, so behind, I don't know what I don't know, then she can help you get some of these things figured out, right? And we've all been in that situation where we say, I want to get over there, but I don't know what to do. And it might require me changing some habits and doing some things that are uncomfortable and shedding the people that are there and getting new people. And so Felecia Ward Marketing is where we should go to contact Miss Felecia Ward and take that next step. And, we're all about the sound bites at the very end here, Miss Felicia. And so, and speaking to that, it's time for the scary part of the show where I try to stump you, I try to put you on the spot by asking you about a fun quote or lesson, hopefully not something by Confucius, but a fun quote or lesson that has served you in life or in business. So what comes to mind as far as in this marketing mess that we're dealing with? How about a fun quote or lesson?
One of my favorite quotes is poet Maya Angelou. Everyone talks about the beauty of the butterfly, but no one talks about the caterpillar. And that transformation is what I want my clients to achieve. But they're right. Behind the scenes, everyone's this ugly caterpillar and we don't pay homage to the caterpillar, all the work that goes on in being that caterpillar and making that transformation is what creates the beautiful butterfly. And in your business, behind the scenes, that's where the real work is being done that people do not see. And that's where you need the most support. That's where you need the mindset. That's where you need to make the transformation actually take place. And then people get the pleasure of seeing your butterfly and thinking that you've done it all with ease, when really you've worked your butt off to make these things happen, but you didn't do it in a vacuum. Make sure you're part of a community so you can have conversations like this and talk about real problems and real solutions. And then, make sure that you're taking the time to spend time with your family and support system. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is that people always want to vilify their family members when they first start out, that he didn't support me and they didn't support me and I'm all alone and I'm in this by myself. Clients say that to me all the time, and I always look at them and say, if you researched your client profile, does anyone in our family meet our client profile? The answer is no. Okay. Your family is there to be advocates. They know they love you, so they're going to be your initial supporters, but they also have a network of their own, and they're going to help with the strategic visibility of getting the word of mouth out that you have a new product or service and you have a business. And you never know who they know that knows someone who knows someone. So them being supportive when you don't have money, them being supportive when you need a babysitter, you need that advocacy and that support. And you have to break it down for your family that you do three things. Just say three keywords. They're not going to remember that you're the, big title of what you do. They are not meant to be your customers and clients. They support you initially in the beginning, but they cannot maintain following you on social media. They cannot attend every event that you're at, but they are part of your support system. Be respectful of the family and friends that support you when you had nothing, and they're putting themselves out there by recommending different people to you because they love you. So recognize that and don't feel defeated if they're not supporting you. Supposedly in your business, they are supporting you in other ways. It's part of that ugly, caterpillar that we're talking about. But that caterpillar puts in so much work and they have to do so much to break out of that cocoon. It's exhausting. And it's one of the things that you have to humble yourself to and create the awareness for yourself and understand that that's part of it. The roller coaster ride is going to happen. And I don't care how sustainable you have become, things happen. And every day as an entrepreneur, you wake up and you end up learning something new about yourself, something new about your industry, something new about compliance that you did not know before. So always be understanding, be ready to have to say, you know what, I'm dumb right now. I have no idea. And I need to ask questions. I need help, or I need to do research, or you need to do both. And you need mentorship. So it's so key and so important. And that's reflective of that quote. Everybody raves about that butterfly, when it talks about that caterpillar.
But there's that ugly work that needs to be done. And that's so helpful, right? That you figure, well, if for your friends and family, they're not there for business advice. They're there to advocate you, to help you out. And even if that friends and family, if they discourage you, well, they're in their own way, they're still trying to help you out, aren't they? Because they're trying to
Yeah.
keep you safe. And it goes both ways, right? Because they don't want to hear you ramble on about all your SEO and your KPIs and your LLMs. They just want those three keywords. So it helps to know, as you said, the game that you're playing and what the parameters, what the rules are. And if you ignore the rules, well, you're going to be so frustrated and spinning your wheels. And so if you can figure out how to be more adaptive, strategic, then Miss Felecia Ward from Felecia Ward Marketing is your gal, is the person to talk to, because, hey, she does speak your language and she can give you that brutal, honest truth and help you get that ugly work done. That way someone can say, whoa, how did they do it? How did they come up with that beautiful social media presence? When I Google them, when I look on my social platform of choice, they're always posting and I know exactly what they do and I follow them and I get them stuck in my head. And when it comes time to get them their services or to refer them, I know exactly what Felecia Ward does. So if you want to hop on that train, go to FeliciaWardMarketing.com, click that contact button, or even better, see if she practices what she preaches, right? Felecia Ward says, hey, whatever platform you go to, if you're an Insta person, if you're a TikTok, if you're a LinkedIn, then search Felecia Ward and contact her on that platform. And that way you can have this conversation and make that transition, take that leap. Don't be one of these statistics that says, I'm so miserable in my 9 to 5. I'll go on and make the jump to entrepreneurship. It fails, they fall back and they're miserable the rest of their life. Don't do it. If you want to be a business owner, then do it. But you need that support system. You need that help. So FeliciaWardMarketing.com is the place to go. And I'm just so excited after talking to you, Miss Felicia. You're a raging river of ideas and concepts, and you're someone that we need to have in our corner if we want to change the world, figure out that purpose. So thanks for being you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for helping us out.
Thank you so much for having me. Hopefully, it's been helpful.